midget, but nothing came of it.
The important thing for Damien Meyer is that he has stayed ahead of those cars heading into the section of the circuit where we know that the MG will have the advantage, so he should be able to skip away over the top of the mountain. Here is the very experienced Terry Longer, and here is the battle group between Joe Kalaja, who is holding up Porsches, and the MG over the top of the mountain.
This is a battle for the 5th to 10th. Purvis gets past Kalaja. Now it'll be Adler seeing if he can have a crack at him as well. But I don't think there's anywhere for him to do it at this point.
It's pretty much a single file racetrack down through the spares box dipper. It's very rare that we see cars running side by side through there.
Car 9, Stan Adler, behind him is car 66, Alex Webster, the white Porsche, Brian Taylor, the blue Porsche 77. Then it's Simon Meyer in the silver midget ahead of Calvert Jones in the silver Porsche. So you've got a fantastic mix of marks out there, and amazing that the Porsches who used to have this category all to themselves are really struggling at the moment to keep up with those 289 Fords.
I think a lot of that, you touched on it yesterday, some of those bigger and more powerful cars. They've done a lot of work on developing the handling to try and get those cars to corner a bit better, and that has allowed them to take the fight up to the Porsches.
That's right. To start with, those things were very fast in a straight line, but never, ever came closer than when it came to the twisty bits. But now, the Corvettes are handling pretty well, and those Shelby 350 GTs, they're handling very well indeed.
This is a tremendous battle, so James Calvert-Jones has moved back ahead of Damien Meyer, who got caught up in some traffic over the top of the mountain.
Now we see a little number of cars. We've got Tony Karanfilowski in the silver Almetta. We've got Tim Linus in a Porsche 928, one of the big V8 Porsches coming through with the midfield. We've got one of the Datsun 260Zs, and behind them, the oldest car in the field, it's Ron Goodman in a grey Porsche 356 from 1954.
That's the sole Group SA car in the field. We do have 3 sub-classes within Group S. So Group SA is for cars that are pre-1960, SB for cars 1961 to 69, and SC for cars 1970 to 77. Battle continues between Tim Linus and Jeff Thomas in the Datsun, who has just moved ahead of that Porsche 928.
And I'm amazed how well Ron Goodman's Porsche has got. Every time he brings that thing out, that car punches above its weight. But it's a very highly developed car and occasionally a little temperamental, and he rings an effort with things. Meanwhile, we've got Kalaja and down going, big dive under brakes. Stan Adler picks up a position as he moves under Kalaja's Corvette as they head down the mountain. But will he be able to hold him back when they hit Conroy?
And a change in 3rd position at Forest Elbows. So Doug Barber has slipped up the inside of Joseph Di Bartolo, who was a little bit wide there at Forest Elbows. So the Porsche moves on into 3rd position.
Well, Doug's achieved one of his ambitions that he mentioned to me last night over dinner. He said that he wanted to get ahead of there. He's a replay of that. Joseph locks a brake in a most unfortunate position. I think he was reasonably lucky to hold the thing up before the wall there. Doug was determined to get at least one. Oh, and Ron Goodman in the Porsche 356. That looks like smoke emitting from the rear of that car, and that's not good.
No, that's a great shame after the work that they did on that car overnight to get it onto the track this morning.
I'd be interested to see what his lap time was, because his big ambition for today, oh, that thing has expired, I'm afraid. His big ambition of the day was to break the lap record for the class, and I'm pretty sure he will have done that. But he's broken not only the lap record, but also the car, I'm afraid.
2-minute 56.4, the best time for Ron Goodman.
Which is about 15 seconds under the previous lap record, so that part of his ambition has been fulfilled.
This contest is continuing. The Meyer brothers back together again. For a while, Simon Meyer was a fair way ahead of Damien, but Simon got caught up in some traffic and Damien's been able to catch back up. Yesterday we saw them working together and forming an MG roadblock on Conrod Straight so that the powerful cars couldn't get past them.
Oh, I'm sure they weren't doing that deliberately, Lachlan. Ron Goodman pulls up safely to the side of the track, well out of the way. He's a pretty experienced driver. His experience goes right back to the old days of the called the Thunderdome. So he's been around the racetrack for a long while. Meanwhile, out in the front, we see Terry Lawler doing it pretty easily right now.
He's opened up a margin, Terry Lawler. It's now 6.8 seconds that he is to the good of John Harrison. So very experienced, historic racer who's had success not just here in Australia, but over at circuits like the Laguna Seca in America as well.
I saw Terry win an all-Shelby race at Laguna Seca, and there were some very big names from American racing out there, and Terry, to their amazement, went out, took the lead on turn one and got the elbows out, and that was the end of that. He won the race. But they're fast learners over there in the States, because the guy who came second on the first race did it to Terry what he'd done to him in race 2, and that was the end of it as well. So John Harrison there, I think, probably content now. He knows he's not going to get by Terry Law. We've got that is a bit unfortunate. We've now got Baker in the Corvette, the ex-Don Thallon car, in a most unfortunate position going up the mountain, and that's not a good place to be stopped.
No, the officials are signalling to the other drivers that they need to go as far to the right of the circuit as they can. There at the cutting, it is obviously a blind corner, so that's not a very good place to park.
No, indeed it's not. And meanwhile, here's Stan Adler, and he's getting very up close and personal there with Joe Kalaja as they come down the mountain.
They've swapped positions a couple of times, those two cars, within the last few laps, as we see that the number 55...
That's the Corvette coming to a stop. That's really... something's gone, a wick's gone out on that thing.
You can actually hear it revving. I'm wondering if maybe it's a clutch or a gearbox problem with that car.
Gearbox or a drive shaft, something, you know, whatever it is. It's like he's moved it from where it was.
The problem there is that there's not a lot of safe positions that you can roll back into.
No, virtually none.
He's done the very best job that he can to get it as far out of harm's way. It's probably not in quite as dangerous a position as it was about 30 seconds ago. Oh, and a big problem coming down.
Calvert Jones, and he's, I think he managed to hold it off the wall. He's got very, very loose, and he's doing a lot of gardening up there. That's not good at all.
Calvert Jones was one of the drivers who was involved in that battle on the fringe of the top 10.
So Dave Baker's still trying to get that Corvette mobile. Up the hill we have a great battle here with two white Carreras. That's Alex Webster in 66, Greg Hallwell in car 111. Harried by Simon Meyer in the silver midget in the part of the circuit the midget just loves.
This will be a non-overtaking zone through here, obviously, because it'll be covered by yellow flags, and in fact the safety car has now been called. So the officials decided that David Baker's car is in a position that's just a little bit too dangerous.
They mightn't be wrong about that. No, that's not a great place to be. He's managed to get it right off the middle of the road where he was. And there's Calvert Jones. He's managed, after that lurid visit to the sand and close greeting to the wall, he's managed to keep the thing all together. I thought he was gone for all money when he went off there.
Good thing for David Baker is that it should be a relatively straightforward exercise for the officials just to maintain that car out of harm's way.
So how many minutes have we got left? That's the question.
That is a very good question. So the time certain cut-off for this race is it's either 10 laps or 1 lap after 8:32 a.m. It's currently 8:25 a.m.
We've got, okay. This is going to be very, very tight, isn't it?
Lights on the AMG Mercedes safety car, which is set to come out for another appearance on the racetrack. So you were talking about Doug Barber before as well, and that you said that his ambition was to get ahead of
least
Joseph
one V8.
Di Bartolo.
Yeah, at least one V8. And the trouble was, I think he was opening up a bit of a gap, and this is actually going to spoil things for him a little, because the Corvette will now cool down, and it'll have all that monster horsepower as they go back out. So we have Terry Lawler, and we've got one of the backmarking Alpha, two of the backmarking Alphas in between himself and John Harrison.
Doug Barber's one of those very enthusiastic characters of the Group S paddock who I always enjoy having a chat to whenever I'm at a race meeting, because he always has so many great stories to tell just about his motorsport experiences, and he's just one of those genuinely enthusiastic and fun competitors who just loves getting behind the wheel of his race car.
Absolutely, mate, absolutely, Lachlan. He's getting a lot of track time these days. He's doing a historic race in May at Brands Hatch. He was hoping to get a run this year at Le Mans Classic, but the deal didn't come together. On the car that they were hoping to run, I think they realised just wasn't going to have the grunt necessary to run 3 one-hour races at Le Mans Classic. And you know, Le Mans Classic is just, I think, one of the great motorsport events that anybody who loves older sports cars would just have to put on their bucket list.
So tell us about the Le Mans Classic concepts, because I know that it's held every 2 years.
That's right.
And obviously it pays homage to cars that competed in the 24 hours of Le Mans in years gone by.
It's divided into 6 categories, age-based, and each of those 6 categories over a 24-hour period has 3 one-hour races, one of which must be during the night. So on the Friday, they have to actually go out and do their practice, including qualifying at night. And the next day, they start at 4 o'clock with conventional, it's a rolling start. And they worked up the age categories. So you'll go there and you'll see lower Bentleys and Bugattis from the 20s and 30s. You'll see C-type Jaguars and D-type Jaguars from the 50s. You'll see Ford GT40s being used in anger, and they really do use them in anger. You'll see Porsche 917s, you'll see Porsche 906, you'll see 935s, like the Alan Jones Australian Sports Car Championship type thing, you know. Just amazing, amazing cars. Cars like Rusty French's. Instead of 935, Rusty's got a 934, I think, that Alan Hamilton had. There's amazing Porsches out there. Amazing GT40s, Lola T70s. If any sports car tickles your fancy and you want to see it being used in anger, the Le Mans Classic is a great event to go to. I mean, to me, the 2 best that I've been to a Le Mans Classic, I've been a couple of times, and going again this year, as a matter of fact. And then the other one is the Goodwood Revival, and that's an extraordinary meeting.
That's one of the most famous historic race meetings in the world.
But I'll give you another one, a little one that's below the radar. And if you happen to be in Europe and look up your calendar, there's an historic meeting at Zandvoort, and that is a fantastic event. And at Zandvoort, you can walk around the entire circuit. You can go and watch every corner while you're there. The facilities for viewing of the circuit are good, and you don't have to buy an expensive package, whereas I would recommend people do if they're going to Le Mans, because it can get seriously hot in July in France. So down the mountain come our lead cars on behind the safety car.
I'll tell you what, having recently seen the movie Ford versus Ferrari, I have to say that has probably whetted my appetite to go and check out some of those overseas historic races. Speaking of Ford versus Ferrari, one of the predominant characters in that movie was Carroll Shelby, who was very much instrumental in the design and development of Ford GT40 race cars that conquered Le Mans in the 1960s, but he was also very much involved in the development of the cars that happened to be running first and second in this race.
And before that, back in 1959, himself a winner of the Le Mans 24-hour race with Roy Salvadori driving an Aston Martin. So, you know, the heritage of the sports cars we see out here today in the classics, and the cars which ran back in the day at Le Mans, and the cars we see downstairs in the pit garage here with the beautiful Aston Martins and McLarens, and I mean the heritage of these marques is just extraordinary.
So down into the chase we come, and our race leader Terry Lawler has a couple of lapped cars between himself and the second place car of John Harrison. The lights are off on the AMG Mercedes safety car, so it's going to be headed back into the pits, and we will get a restart this time around.
Well, it's, I bet that Doug Barber in third position in the Porsche was wishing that he had a couple of slower cars behind him. Now, if they do the right thing, they'll just move to the left and allow John Harrison to make his move. But it's Terry Lawler in control of the race, very experienced driver. He'll know what to do as they come down under the liquid moly bridge. Kalaja pulling out along. What's Joe Kalaja doing?
Well, I think you'll probably be penalised for that because there's no passing or overlapping until you get to the start-finish line. So Joe Kalaja there quite clearly made the move on Doug Barber before they got to the start-finish line. So that will attract some attention from race control, I would imagine.
Well, one would think so.
Back underway with 3 laps remaining on the board at this stage, and Terry Lawler has taken full advantage of those laps cars to open up a sizable margin over John Harrison. It was 4.6 seconds as they crossed the start-finish line. And
as we thought, Joe Di Bartolo was going to give a really good red hot go to get back past Doug Barber with his car nice and cool. So we've got in the lead, Terry Lawler has disappeared into the sunset. We've got Joe Kalaja, who's come up the inside of a whole lot of people before the start line. Not sure what's going to happen there. We've got Kalaja being harried now by Joe Di Bartolo, and I think it'd be quite good if Joe slows Kalaja down, or Kalaja slows Joe down, because that'll work well for Doug Barber in the Porsche. Doug's lining Di Bartolo up for a pass over the top there, but I don't think that's going to come off, not that early anyway.
It looks to the inside as they head down into McPhillamy Park. We've seen that Doug Barber is pretty good heading down over Skyline. The 2 Corvettes side by side.
And Andy Purvis tried to get alongside Doug as well. So Di Bartolo gets ahead of
Joe
Kalaja, who's now holding up the Porsches behind him. And a lap time, let's have a look at the lap times. Kalaja's fastest lap time to date has been a 2:43, whereas, I tell you what, this is getting a bit dramatic coming down there. It's a bit exciting. Kalaja will be holding these blokes up. He's 7 seconds a lap slower.
And it's a freight train of Porsches, and you can see that Kalaja, with the superior horsepower of the Corvette, cruises off into the distance down Conrod Straight, and then it's a gaggle of Porsches. Doug Barber ahead of Andrew Purvis, Stan Adler, Ryan Taylor and Alex Webster all in there.
Alex Webster's the one who's moved immensely since qualifying yesterday. He qualified about 23rd, and now he's well into the top 10. But you've got Kalaja in that red Corvette, and the thing's very fast in a straight line. So where is Doug Barber? Doug Barber's going to have to get past that before he can have a crack at Di Bartolo. So Barber comes down the inside. As they come on to the start of the straight, gets out a bit wide, gets into the dust. So that's not going to help his cause any.
And Kalaja back down the inside of Barber as they head into Hill Corner. You'll be on the inside as well, Joe Kalaja, and that just compromises Doug Barber's momentum on the exit of the corner, which may create an overtaking opportunity for the cars behind. Andrew Purvis and Stan Adler both looking to maximise their exit speed for the long uphill run up Mountain Straight. And this will be the final lap, so we will run 1 lap short.
And I'll tell you what, this Porsche battle's getting a bit hungry, isn't it? You've got Barber ahead of Purvis, ahead of Adler. And Adler and Purvis have had history. And then you've got Brian Taylor, and so is he. And it's getting very, very hairy as they head up to the back of the battle. In fact, you have to say that action earlier in the race is really compromised by the Corvette. It's really compromised the race of these 4 Porsche drivers.
I'd agree with that, so it'll be interesting to see what the officials decide to do. We'll leave that in their very capable hands at the conclusion of this race. One thing that's not in dispute, though, is that Terry Lawler has got serious pace in his Shelby. He's now 9.1 seconds ahead of John Harrison in the lead of this motor race.
And Terry Lawler down to a 2:33. That's a significant improvement on his previous best time here this weekend. And best lap time so far for a 2:36 for John Harrison. So Terry Lawler's really set a very high standard to emulate today. You've got Barber thus last, you know, a 2:38. He's been much quicker than that in the past.
Down into Forest Elbow. Cautious will be good under brakes. Barber looking to the inside, but Kalaja covering off that overtaking manoeuvre. Here, though, is our race leader, Terry Lawler, and it has been a superb and controlled drive from the front of the field. Through Murray's Corner for the final time, and it's 2 wins from 2 races for Terry Lawler in the Group S Classic Sports Car races here at Mount Panorama.
He'd have to be pretty happy. Then will be John Harrison now coming through. Murray's coming up the start of the straight. A big gap when you consider they've only been back racing for a couple of laps. But here's the battle for fourth. And I know. And Stan Adler looking down the inside of Andy Purvis as they come up to the start-finish line. That's going to be very hairy. Kalaja goes across. Then it's Doug Barber, the first Porsche, from Andy Purvis. Stan Adler finishes in 7th. Brian Taylor will be 8th, but he'll cop a 5-second penalty, so that'll put him behind Webster and maybe Watts when the final results are called.
Just seeing a replay there, a very close moment over the top of the mountain for Matt Blanche in his MGB, heading down through the spares box dipper.
Tim Linus in the 928, Jeff Thomas in the Datsun 260Z, and down there in the sand in the last lap, it's car 45, which is John Del Colo in car 56, the Datsun 240Z from South Australia. John will be very disappointed with himself, and to get that close to the end and make your mistake is always very frustrating.
So he ends up beached in the gravel trap. Let's see if this replay explains what might have happened. That's actually Thomas earlier on, so that's Jeff Thomas in another one of the Datsuns running off at the chase.
That's a 260Z there for Jeff, and I think this is Del Colo here. He just braked a bit late, didn't he? He just missed his turn in altogether. I think he was hoping to power through there, but it didn't quite make it.
He was in a battle with another couple of cars at the time, but he's ended up parked in the sand trap at the chase. So that'll be another job for our recovery crews to retrieve that vehicle. We're going to be watching some highlights of race number 2 for the Group S Classic Sports Cars here at Mount Panorama.
We saw a really good start by Barber off the line, but then it was Andy Purvis in the yellow Porsche and Joe Kalaja who swamped him as they came to the first turn on the track. Coming down the mountain, Damien Meyer in the blue MG Midget under Greg Hall in the Porsche, who ends up hung out to dry. Ron Goodman, unfortunately, the 356 Porsche expiring. Stan Adler getting a bit up close and personal with Joe Kalaja. And there we have this lurid moment from James Calvert-Jones. And I'll tell you what, he was so lucky to get away with that. And then we have this battle at the end of the race, which was, you know, ends up being a very dominant performance by Terry Lawler.
In the end, though, a comprehensive race victory for Terry